Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Magic Key, how hard it was to get that thing. Man, it took hours. We're also going to be talking about some Halloween Horror Nights updates and some special rants from Jason Diffendahl, all on ParksCenter. It's August 29th, 2021. I'm Rob Whiteside. I'm your host. Welcome to ParksCenter. I just want to say real quick that our thoughts are with those folks who are down in New Orleans. Tonight is the night where Hurricane Ida is coming in and causing terrible, terrible devastation. And while we are all here to talk about Disney, it is sobering to think about all the things that those folks are going through. So again, if you're there, if you have family and friends who are there, our thoughts and prayers are with you. So I just wanted to say that from the top. We understand that this is not the most important thing going on in the world, but if you're here tonight, hopefully we can give you 90 minutes of escape to talk about just random Disney things. And here to do it is quite a cast, including former host of Pressing Issues. Apparently he's not going to let go of that sucker. It's Jason Diffendahl. How are you? So maybe he hosts and I don't. Oh, no, see, now he's the electrical parade. I think we're still having some audio issues with you, Jason, or you might be muted.
Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. Yeah, I'll switch to electrical parade just for you, Rob.
I mean, you know what? Just Pressing Issues, fantastic. And then Kamila Sanders. Kamila, how are you?
Good. Hi, everyone. Hope you're safe.
And then with us for the first time on ParksCenter, but a Pressing Issues veteran, it's Mike. Mike, how are you?
Doing great. Great to see everybody.
So tonight we've got, we're going to go around the hub. We're going to talk about some Disney news. Then we're going to take a little break and we're going to check in with Annie, our Universal correspondent, talk a little bit about Halloween Horror Nights, which starts on September 3rd. It's really close. And then, man, boy howdy, Jason has been ramping up. He's been in a box. He's getting really ready. It's going to be a night. So buckle up, y'all. So let's talk first about some Disney stuff on the left coast, as I like to call it. Does anybody else call it that? I don't know. The Magic Key went on sale this week, and you know what? I got in queue to buy one, and it was anything but magical. It really was. You know, you're spending a lot of money.
What do you expect from Disney IT? I've never had an IT experience that's been magical.
Well, this one didn't feel like as much of an IT thing as it seemed like they weren't really ready, and maybe it was IT, because it had that little progress bar, and good golly, 6 hours, 40 minutes later, I joked with somebody, I was like, nah, I don't want one anymore. It's fine. I'm good. I've been begging everybody to buy one. Jason, talk a little bit about that. I mean, did you experience this at all, or are you just done with all the IT stuff?
So I didn't really try to buy a Magic Key when they went on sale. I'm not going to Disneyland soon, so I think I'm going to wait till about the 64th day and get mine then, just so I get those extra special perks. Like I need that pin, right? So, but I don't. There's no point in buying it right now for me. I'm not going to sit online and wait for hours. I'd rather sit online and wait for hours to buy some, Stitch Crashes Disney plush or something, but not the Magic Key. The Magic Key is not urgent for me.
Yeah, and really the only reason to get it now is if you have plans to get those park reservations. Kamila, did you get one? Do you know people that got one? Do you need one?
So a lot of my friends were in those queues. If you waited 6 hours, Rob, I think you got lucky, because I knew people who were in there for 12 hours. And a lot of that, the reason why they stayed is because they were trying to get some reservations for specific dates. So I think for a lot of people, maybe that was the motivating factor. But I will say, so I plan to get mine when I am at the parks this week, and I'm trying to apply the money I've already spent on tickets for my trip this weekend to that. And I will say one feature that I thought was kind of cool is it seems like you can actually upgrade your pass in your app. So once you scan in, I think it's on the last day of your visit, there will be an option to apply your tickets to a pass. So versus like having to go and stand in the little ticket counter, which, I mean, that can take hours at Disneyland. So I thought that was a nice little tech feature. I saw some people, and that's how they were able to apply their tickets they had for that day to and upgrade it to their pass. So Kudos to Disney for adding that in at least. But yeah, it doesn't sound like it was fun if you were in that queue.
Yeah, you've never been on a panel with Jason, but you should never say kudos to Disney. That's probably probably not a good thing. I mean, for me, right? For me, just getting to stare at Space Mountain for hours upon hours was fantastic. So, Mike, do you want to weigh in on this?
Much like Jason, I know much better than to try something like this on the first day. I'm in no hurry. I did talk to several friends today that were stuck in the queue. A couple even bailed out because they had no pressing reason to grab it. But, you know, I hate to say it was expected, but that's kind of what you get on these new launches.
So I'm trying to figure out, are you saying that I was a schmuck for sitting in line like that? And are you also saying that possibly there are still people still waiting for that progress bar at this point to get through there? I mean, maybe. Yes. Maybe. I don't know. But either way, they are on sale. And you're right, there isn't a hurry to get them because it's not like they're going to run out of them like most Disney merch. That's always the problem, is they're going to run out of whatever it is you want, whether it's admission to Destination D or that Stitch merchandise that Jason loves so much. So either way, you can get one whenever. It's just really about the passes. So let's move on to next topic. And again, sort of it's a Disneyland thing. Halloween. I mean, I've never been there for Halloween. I would like to be there for Halloween. It's just the smartest overlay I think that I've ever seen. It just looks so cool with all the Halloween stuff on here. And it's not unique anymore. I mean, so many people do Halloween stuff, but Cars Land itself is one of my favorite lands to be in. So I think that's, oh my God. She's already gone into full Halloween mode. All right. Well, you got the ears on. I'm going to default to you on this one, Kamila. Have you been to Halloween before? Is it exciting?
Listen, the time to go to Disneyland is at Halloween because between Disneyland and DCA, they really do it right. They really do it well. There's a reason that every single year the Oogie Boogie Bash sells out within a couple of days or weeks of it going on sale. And if you're wondering at this point, yes, it is sold out. But Halloween season is really so well done at the Disneyland Resort. I'll be there this weekend for the start of the Halloween season. Hopefully the Haunted Mansion Nightmare Before Christmas ride overlay will be up, but between the decorations and the theming and some of the ride overlays, it really is so well done. If you've only ever been to Mickey's Not So Scary, it is so worth it to go to the Oogie Boogie Bash. They are different, and I think the way that Disneyland does it is really thoughtful and well done.
Very cool. Let me go to Jason. Would you go to this or not? Why is Halloween Horror Nights better? Go.
So I've been to Halloween at California Adventure a couple of years ago. It's great. The decorations are phenomenal. And like Kamila said, between Halloween and Haunted Mansion Holiday, it really is one of the best times to go to the Disneyland Resort. I don't know that I'd go back. I didn't do Oogie Boogie Bash when I was there, so I'd kind of go back for that. But as far as the value you get out there versus Walt Disney World, I think Disneyland has the market on the value just because Haunted Mansion Holiday, for anybody who loves Haunted Mansion and Nightmare Before Christmas, it's almost worth the price of admission on its own. Although I say that facetiously because admission is over $100 at this point. I love that. I love that attraction. It's different every year, so it makes it worthwhile to go every year versus Mickey's Not So Scary was kind of repetitive and boring, and now it's less offerings and more expensive in Florida, and so I'm not going to that this year. But I'm going to Horror Nights, as you mentioned, so that tells you where my thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a different ball game, but I agree with you. The stuff they do in Disneyland is so much more over the top for Halloween for sure, because they do it in both parks. They do the overlay. I love that overlay. I'm a huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan anyway, so if y'all have never been to that is worth it. But of course, they keep that all the way through Christmas because it skirts 2 holidays, so that's a good thing. Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, so I've been to Disneyland a few times for Halloween. Never done the Oogie Boogie Bash, so that may get me back out there for it. But I think just the intimate nature of Disneyland makes those Halloween decorations just stand out more. It's just a better feel, better vibe for that I get like a Disney World for the holiday overlays they get. And again, the ride overlays are just, incredible. The Nightmare Before Christmas, again, one of my favorites, is one of the best overlays I think I've seen anywhere. So it's definitely worth the trip if you haven't been there.
Well, and rumor was that was they were gonna make two, one for here, and Jason, the other one went to what, Tokyo, the overlay?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Just another reason that I'm sad that I've never been to Tokyo. Okay, so the next thing is that they're adding the touchless gates that we have already at Disney World to Disneyland, and this is fantastic because I feel like their security situation is not as good as Disney World's. Most of the things I will tell you, I feel like Disneyland does a better job, or it's more quaint, or it's the original, or whatever. But I feel like that the way that they've done security in the past doesn't feel as efficient. It feels very temporary. It feels very dropped together. But we've been doing security forever. I mean, it seems like it's time to step it up. So, I mean, I'm glad that they've gone to this, the touchless stuff, Jason. But doesn't it seem like they should be doing much more there?
So I will say that these the Evolve touchless scanners have sort of taken the theme park security world by fire since Disney started using them a year or so ago. They've sprung up all over the place at a lot of different theme parks now. I've seen them. So they certainly are much faster. That's primarily the benefit to those. At the same time, and I've said this for a long time now, all of this I consider security theater. If you wanted to get something prohibited into one of the parks, it's not that hard. I haven't tried, so I don't have personal experience, but all of these things are, I consider these things more, make sure to weed out the people who try to smuggle selfie sticks in, because the people who are trying to smuggle something much more dangerous than a selfie stick have plenty of other methods to do that. If you can get an entire animatronic out of Epcot, I'm sure you can get a much smaller firearm into Epcot the same way. So I think security is, you call it a game, I call it theater. It's really designed to make people feel secure, not actually provide security.
But, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you because I feel like they were doing more before 9/11, and then afterwards a lot of what they did was for show. But it doesn't evoke a lot of confidence in me when it's like 12 easy up tents, in the middle of nowhere. It just,
you're talking about the structures? Yeah, I mean, it does look temporary. It always has. I mean, honestly, the Magic Kingdom security was temporary. It looked temporary until like 2 years ago. So, if you go to Disney Springs, man, that's, they just built those parking garages with no security in mind for whatever reason, and now like half of the second floor is blocked off with these temporary gates.
No spoilers. No, that's going to be your rant.
Okay, yeah, well.
We don't want to give them
any rant about security in that case. I'm going to rant about security right now. But in any case, all of this stuff looks temporary. I mean, even like the temperature scanning was kind of, they let you sit in a tent and cool down. Well, of course, that's going to lower your temperature. I mean, that was another thing that was really turned out to be rather ineffective and simply time-consuming. So,
okay, Mike.
So anything that gets me through security line faster, I'm all for.
Yeah.
Disneyland's security is very temporary looking when they moved it out to the ends of the Esplanade and put up those tents. So, my feeling is if it's important to do it now, then it's going to be important to do it forever in perpetuity. I can't even talk. Build something permanent. Make it look good, so your first experience when you walk into Disneyland isn't a bunch of tents and, temporary rope set up.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to ask you, though, Mike, did you wear the Epcot shirt to kiss up to Jason?
No. Epcot is my park, my favorite place. It's my kids' favorite place, so it holds a very special place.
I'll allow it. Before we move on, there was a question from Lego Plus and a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. When will the red car trolley reopen? I don't know if do we assume that's a COVID thing? That they still haven't put that out there?
Don't get me going with COVID things.
Yeah, I would. If you're putting people on a ride, why can't you put them on a trolley?
There's a lot of that, and again, in the back half of the show, we're going to really let them have it. But I agree that it feels like something that they should have been able to do by now. It's open air. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me that it comes out of an Avengers hangar, but that's a completely different conversation. So we can burn that bridge when we get to it. But you know what? Speaking of maybe a positive thing, because we want to be a little bit positive here, is that they've got that bread coming back to the bread tour. Honestly, I don't know if you guys have done the bread tour at DCA, but they used to have a bread tour, and then they also had the what was it? It was they were tortillas on the other side, and you'd go and you'd get a sample.
Mission tortilla, yes.
Yeah, and you get a sample, and they'd hand you a sample as you walk in, and then as you'd go through, you'd see how it was made. It's a neat little thing. Obviously, it could have been, this could have been executed better, but I think that for what it is, it's a nice little feature that they have here. Being able to walk in and get some bread, and the fact that this is back again, it seems like one of those things like. Why did it take him so long, Kamila? Why did it take him so long to get me some bread back?
Well, it took them a while just to open the Pacific Wharf Cafe, which, they use the same bread kind of in a couple of different places throughout DCA and Disneyland. But I assumed maybe it was something to do with trying to get those two things reopened. But I'm glad that this is back. It's a really cute little tour. It's just another thing that's reopening. I'm even more excited that the Pacific Wharf Cafe has reopened because I love their bread bowls and their soup over there. So I think it's just all good things.
Okay. Thoughts on bread, Mike? Have you been? I don't even know, Mike. Have you been to Disneyland? When was the last time you went to Disneyland?
It's been a few years, but I had a premier pass for both coasts for many, many years. I traveled, for work, so I was out in the Southern California a lot. So I spent many, day and a half trips out there on my own. But when I saw the topic of bread, I actually had to look it up today because I was like, what's he talking about? I didn't realize that they were bringing back the samples. I'm surprised, actually. We just talked about the red trolley not coming back. But I would think something like samples would be even more sensitive to if you're using the COVID excuse. But it's great. Whenever something comes back, I'm happy. Let's just let's keep more of these things coming back and get that experience back at the par.
Jason, free stuff is very limited these days in the parks.
It sure is. It sure is. As Kamila said, I'm just happy that you could get a bread bowl with the clam chowder in it. That's my go-to snack
Definitely.
at DCA. And so, sample or no sample, I'm glad you can get the bread bowls with the soup. That's the best.
Yeah. Well, again, we wanted to do something positive because there is a lot of negative, including in our next topic. So we're going to go on to the next topic, which is that there is no land. What I don't understand why Living with the Land is closed. They have closed Living with the Land, and it's been closed for several days now. We thought it was going to be open one day, and then it wasn't, so they have greeters out here, but there's no explanation as to why Living with the Land is closed. Is it some awesome thing that they're doing, Jason, where they're going to bring back the original Listen to the Land for the anniversary? Can you tell me, please, that that's what's going to happen?
I cannot confirm nor deny that thing you just made up. I will say I hope they don't eliminate the sullen tomato girl, which is one of my favorite parts of that in the latter part of the ride where they project the pictures, and that the girl with the tomatoes has been there since 1982. So I hope they're not going to replace her. If they replace the song, I'd be happy. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's mechanical in nature. I kind of, if I had to take a guess. Everything else mechanical at Walt Disney World is breaking down, so why not the boat ride? That would be my guess.
Okay. Let's not bring up boats in front of Kamila. She has a boat phobia. She kind of hates them. Kamila,
no one likes the boats. It really is not fun to get in and out of a boat. Like, I feel like we can at least agree with that. Like, anyway, I'm not going to go there.
The land boats are pretty good, though, right?
Yeah,
like the land is much better than
definitely
Splash
better.
Mountain or Pirates.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, Pirates is a bad one. The thing I will say about this one, I did see where it sounds like it's not related to the woman who got out of her boat drunkenly. And so it sounds like the good news about living with the land is everything that they're growing and trying to care for seems like it's okay. That's not contaminated. I think kind of like what Jason was saying, my understanding, or what I've heard, and this is all rumor because Disney hasn't confirmed anything, is that they were replacing the smoke alarms, and so as part of that process, they have to have it like inspected or something like that. So it sounded like they were doing some work on the building, and then they were just waiting for those inspections to be completed. Who knows what it really is? I wish in times like this, for something that's not that serious, Disney would just come out and say, oh, we're working on this, or it's under refurbishment. So that way, people aren't left to guess. But for a lot of people, this is a really nice ride. I'll be glad when it's back and you can just hop on it.
Because it's an easy boat to get on, Kamila. You can just hop on. That's why. I mean, Jason, I don't know. The tournament tore her up about all the boats that were in there, so it's really it's tough. I worked on Listen to the Land. That's how old and decrepit I am. That Listen to the Land was my attraction, and so like I don't know what kind of stuff could go wrong. Like maybe you mentioned the fire code stuff that would take this thing down for this long. I mean, there aren't a ton of show scenes that have any movement to them. I mean, if the thing was flooded, maybe I don't know. I can't imagine what would have caused it to go down for this long. But you're right. It would be nice if they would tell us. Mike?
Well, it's one of my favorite attractions at Epcot, just because it's got that old Epcot feeling to it. So I hope they're not changing much. Rumor is they're putting out free cucumber samples, I heard, to keep people from jumping out of the boats. But we'll see what that happens there. But again, it's a boat ride. If it's got water and the boat can float, I mean, how much can be going wrong? So I hope it is something like some infrastructure piece like smoke alarms or something like that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that were just always broken, let's talk about Primeval Whirl. Primeval Whirl.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, I know. I know you were devastated when they closed that one down. And it's been closed down, and it's been sort of just a huge, ginormous eyesore sitting there for so long. It needs to be taken down. They need to do something else with this area. And they've filed a permit, but the question is, have they filed the permit for the sake of just demolishing? Because it seems like there's some construction stuff in mind. And if so, what are they going to do? Like, again, I mean, excavator? No, that's probably not going to happen. So what are they going to do, Jason?
I think it's funny that you call it an eyesore because it's been sitting there closed, whereas many people have called it an eyesore since the day it opened.
Fair. Fair.
Not me, of course. No, I think I love that attraction. It was one of my favorites. I remember going on it years and years ago, and it was fun. I know it's an off-the-shelf attraction. I know you can ride it at other parks. It was still fun.
Yeah.
This is part of the problem with Disney today, is that this would never have happened 20 or 30 years ago. That an attraction would just sit closed and not be taken down. I mean, whether or not they're going to scrap it or sell it to another park, you got to take it down and get it out of there, right? Like, there's no point in leaving it standing in there, showing people what they missed, because they didn't come 5 years ago. You take it down and you take it out. You don't leave something there that's never going to reopen. That is so poor show from the Walt Disney Company. And again, it's a sad thing that it doesn't honestly surprise me that they're doing this. I mean, if you're going to put the coaster, if you're going to sell the coaster to some other park, that's fine. You still can. You still got to take it down. So just take it down. Whether you know what's going to go there or not, you take it down and you plant some grass or whatever. I mean, look at what they did when they took 20,000 Leagues out. They put in Pooh's Playful Spot and made it a really cheap but very useful playground for kids.
Yeah, I agree. And they could have. I mean, they could take it down, put up a fence for all that matters. Or,
Yeah.
I feel like they may be the world's leader in scrim. So it feels like they should be able to put some scrim in front of this and at least make us believe that there's nothing else behind it. I don't know. I'm gonna go to Mike again on this one. By the way, I don't care that it's off the shelf either. When you theme it well, I think that works. I don't mind Goofy Sky School at all. I think that's cool. And this one, you're right. It was at least another ride, but now that it's gone, it needs to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it either. It was a fun ride. It fit the little area it was in. You can talk about how the area doesn't fit, but it was an enjoyable. But much like Jason said, if it's going to sit there and just rot, why not do something? I mean, if they want to take it apart, they have the ability, they have the manpower to, like you said, throw the scrims up, get that thing taken apart, paved over, whatever, pulled out of there. But I don't hold a lot of hope out for this permit. I mean, it could be something as simple as just going in there and making some small mechanical adjustments or something they have to do. Pull some signage down, whatever. So I don't have a lot of hope on this permit. It's going to mean major change.
Yeah, that's fair. Kamila, bring us home.
I mean, I feel like also one of the few people that really enjoyed this ride. I think it had a really great way of having you have fun while also feeling like you're definitely about to die. It was a great ride to jump on, like before a Yak and Yeti reservation. Rarely did it have a line. So I really enjoyed it. I do hope that, now that it's gone, they find some good use for the space, because I still feel like Animal Kingdom still just continues to need more. I think it still kind of feels like a half day or 3/4 of a day park, and I'm sure you could spend a full day if you really do it well, but I feel like with it gone, I hope they have some good plan for that space.
Yeah, and in chat, the comment from Melvin Lee is Disneyland's People Mover has been abandoned for decades. Very true, and it is that. But see, this one is I think it was a take it or leave it. I don't think most people didn't like it, but either you rode it or you didn't. If you don't like to spin, whatever. I think that their People Mover was cherished, and so the fact that is still there is, to me, pretty upsetting. So I agree with that one.
It is. People Mover is a very complicated thing to remove from either park, Disneyland or Magic Kingdom, because it goes in and out and through all the buildings. That's the complication. But still, it's been closed for 20 some years now. I mean, that's inexcusable.
Yeah, either bring that back, bring the rocket rods back, or let's just call it a day. Open it up. Let's see some more of that Anaheim sunshine coming in. So the last thing that we're going to talk about here today is the rat, not the mouse, but the rat. The distribution times were announced for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in virtual queue, and the virtual queue is going to be the same basic nonsense that we have for the virtual queue for Rise of the Resistance. And I don't know why that was a thing, because I feel like they should have done virtual queue for Mickey and Minnie. They feel very similar, but in talking with Tom, he said, well, there's a higher ride capacity because Mickey and Minnie, they put more people on at once. I've not ridden Remy's Ratatouille Adventure here or in Paris, so I don't really know about the capacity, but it does seem kind of crazy to have that virtual queue on here. But then again, because of what we've got coming soon with the Lightning Lane, does it really matter? I mean, it could be gone, pretty quickly. I don't imagine me being as excited to wake up at 6:55 to ride Remy as I would be to get up at 6:55 to ride Rise of the Resistance, or be as manic about it. Kamila, I'm going to throw to you this time.
Yeah, so my first thought about this is Web Slingers over at DCA has the virtual queue. And if you've ever ridden Web Slingers...
Oh, so that 10 times fast.
Yeah, don't do it. I can't do it. But if you've ever ridden that ride, I understand having a virtual queue maybe for the first few weeks, but after a while, that ride just doesn't need a virtual queue, and yet it still has one. And I don't quite understand that. I think you could easily transition that to standby only, and I don't even think that line necessarily would be that long for people who have ridden it before. So I'm curious to see for Remy's if it's kind of a similar situation, because to me, like, Rise is kind of so spectacular when it's working that I understand, that it's why it's so popular, that it would have a virtual queue. With Remy's, once the newness wears off, do you really need a virtual queue for a ride like that, or are you going to give people the chance just to stand in line? And I will say, we don't know if it's going to be a lightning lane yet. I'd be curious, and having never ridden that, I don't know, like, would you pay for that? Same thing with web slingers. So I'm curious to see how this plays out after, the initial newness. I don't like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jason?
I worry that they're going to just implement virtual queue on every new attraction when it opens.
Yes.
That's my concern. As we're seeing now, even Rise of the Resistance doesn't fill the afternoon virtual queue. There's still spots available late into the day. And honestly, I think that's a function more of the ride uptime, because the ride's uptime used to be terrible. And now it seems that it's finally working pretty well. And now the demand for the attraction is about balanced to where it should be if the ride is operating the entire day. Remy first of all, the demand for Remy is going to be almost non-existent after everybody rides it once. People can ride Rise of the Resistance over and over and over again because they love it. I think the demand for Remy is going to evaporate by like October 4th or 5th. But on the bright side, they can just then turn on virtual queue. But I think you're going to see virtual queue for the Rat go away very, very fast.
Okay, Mike.
Well, I agree with Jason. I think you're going to see virtual queues on everything new, because Chapek kind of backed himself into that corner with his dig at Universal about, we're not going to have long lines for 10-hour lines like they did, and so I think you're going to get virtual queues just to protect his little backhand at Universal. And also, I don't know if maybe they can gather more data when it's a virtual queue to decide whether this is going to be a Lightning Lane Plus or a Lightning Lane Plus Plus or whatever the paid version is going to be called. Maybe it gives them the ability to collect a little more data up front while they're trying to decide what rides are going to be in what bucket when they finally roll out this Genie Plus stuff.
Yeah. Well, again, well, look, it's Jason. How about that? We've already talked to Jason. But, to me, the whole thing, Park Passes, a virtual queue, the evolution into Disney Genie Plus and Lightning Lane is just very sad. Gone are the days where you can just go enjoy the park. And that's what these new features are supposed to do, is make it so you can walk around and enjoy the park. But I feel like it's taken a lot of that away, and I'm sure we'll touch a lot on that again in the back half of the show when we go into our rant mode. So we're going to go take a quick commercial break. We will be back to talk a little bit about Halloween Horror Nights. That's a fun topic. Annie will be here to talk to us about that. So don't go away.
WDWNT presents Timekeeping, a year-by-year journey through the history of the vacation kingdom of the world. Join us for the premiere Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, or watch on demand anytime on the WDW News Today YouTube channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to ParksCenter. I'm Rob Whiteside. With me now is Annie. Annie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we're going to talk a little bit about, we talked about it at the top of the show a little bit. Halloween Horror Nights is in full effect. September 3rd it starts out. You've been in the parks every day, seeing every little new thing that's been added along the way. But I want to talk to you and ask you a little bit about a couple of things that really kind of caught my eye. One of them is the tribute store, which I went into the tribute store last year and it looked pretty amazing, but this kind of looks like it's a next level kind of a thing. This big house structure they built on the outside and all the stuff inside. It looks like it kind of follows the same pathway and kind of stuff as all the tribute stores have, but some of this stuff seems pretty over the top. Especially when it gets to talking about like these busts and the pictures that are up there. In person, is this amazing as it looks when I look at it on the screen here? How about that?
It's really incredible. It's so detailed. I have been through over and over, and every time I see something new, a new picture stands out or a new detail. The other day I noticed that the portraits in the rooms with the icons, they all change just a little bit. They all have like a little effect. So like the flashlight, the usher's flashlight flickers. You can see like the storyteller's eyes move and kind of follow you. The caretaker, the little clippers, he clips. There's just so many other little details. It's really over the top when you go in there. You really do feel like you're going through this old house with all these, unique items. And there's a lot of references from the last 30 years. They have props from previous years, like they have the Sweet 16 birthday candles on display. They have models. They have event guides from previous years. So if you're, into Halloween Horror Nights, you could just spend all day in there just looking at the history.
How much money is Jason going to need when he goes? Because I'm guaranteeing he's going to spend a lot of money.
They keep putting out new stuff. So even myself, I'm like, I buy one thing and the next day there's something else. And it's just like never ending. The jean jacket is a real popular item. It says Halloween Horror Nights on the front. It's got the retro logo with Frankenstein on the back. They keep selling out of those. They put out like a print of the concept art for the actual tribute store. So, I mean, I'm already going broke. So, Jason, good luck.
Well, and I'm looking down at, and there's a lot of pass holder merchandise too, which, again, we've talked about recently how Universal seems to be really, kind of over-serving their pass holder, whereas in Disney they've been told they're a second-class citizen. Is this? I mean, this merch looks pretty amazing, and it looks pretty specifically made just for pass holders. Is there anything else like this that's not pass holder, or and is this stuff as good as it looks? I mean, in person.
I love the artwork on the pass holder merchandise. If you look closely, it's like a pinball machine, so you can see like game over. You see the little like clicker pieces, like all the details like on a pinball machine. And it's very different from any of the other merchandise, which is nice because, sometimes the merchandise looks very similar to what everyone else is getting, but this is so unique and different. It really is nice for pass holders. And they're also doing pass holder appreciations right now, so, pass holders are really getting the special treatment.
That's a good thing. Like I said at the top of the show, I like free stuff, and there's been a lot less of it recently. So. Don't forget the pass holder Halloween Horror Nights magnet and button next month. Here's a problem.
So that's another thing.
I'm actually a pass holder. Every time I get there, it is not the first of the month. It's like the middle of the month, and they're like, "Oh, we just ran out. Sorry."
Well, you might be in luck because I think the magnet comes out maybe September 16th, I think might be the day. So the magnet comes out later than the button. So you might be in luck if you're.
I know. As a pass holder, it's the dumbest perk, and yet it's the best perk, the magnets. I've literally thought about driving down there before just to get the magnet or the button because that's such a cool thing, and I don't know why. It's sad. So let's talk. We've been talking about merch. Let's talk a little bit about the food. I don't remember, and I'm looking at the website, of course. The food booths, have they always been this amazing? Like, this looks super well themed. Am I off on that?
I remember some themed food in the past. I remember some Stranger Things themed food and things like that. But I don't think it's ever been this, massive amount of food, and unique food, and all themed, like you said. Like they've got the Leatherface cherry pie. They've got like Nell's Tea Party sandwiches. We've got some sweet shop stuff. They've got like a jacked up slider, which is like a slider on bourbon glazed donuts, and there's like a deep fried Uncrustables. I mean,
this is nasty. This is just nasty. I mean, yeah. Sorry, the menus is what?
I just think the menus are like so creative and not things that you typically find in the park. So I'm really looking forward to overindulging.
Well, and they all look different. I mean, this one is really cool. That looks like it's a little trailer, like almost like a food truck over to the side, and it's got all that theming around it. The signage looks pretty amazing. Like normally Disney will have one sign that's like the picture and one sign that's the food, and somebody went to the trouble to do these all special. That all looks nice. This thing, I mean,
they all have nice facades outside. You can see that that's like Haunting of Hill House. The one is like a Beetlejuice with the Twisted Tater. So they put like theming into it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, the gas pumps, they have like little details. I think it's like $19.74 for 1974.
Yeah.
Little things like that. So they've really, gone an extra step to make guests feel like really involved in the event.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it's not that like. Again, I in my head I'm always comparing. It's like the Disney double standard, right? I'm comparing Universal to Disney, and the food booths. It feels like they just there's nothing new. It's just the same kind of a situation over there. These look like they've evolved, and even at Mardi Gras, it looked like some of those had evolved into something more than we had seen in the past, and especially in a time like this where we're cutting back because of COVID or whatever. This looks like they've actually started to invest a little bit more and do their own thing, and it caters to their audience so much better. Like you said, like the little, horror facts things that are like the Easter eggs hidden into it, which looks absolutely amazing. I don't know how I feel about this though. So the vinyl dividers, like, yeah, COVID's still a thing, and Delta variant, and stay safe, and that all stinks. And but like the vinyl dividers, have you seen anything about this? I mean, I assume this is to protect the scare actors, but the scare actors are usually wearing masks as well. I assume masks are required because it's indoor. I don't know. I mean, does it make it less scary? Again, I'm all for safety, and I'm all for the fact that in a normal time it'd be one thing, but we're in COVID, and this is how they allow us to do this. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I see both sides of it where there are a lot of people that are upset. There are people that are saying they want refunds because, this ruins it. I know last year I had heard people when, they opened the two houses during the day, and I had heard people coming out and saying if I had paid for that, I would have wanted my money back, because it really does kind of ruin the scares. You can see where things are coming. You can see the, kind of the divider. But I also think last year when they canceled the event that people were all saying that just put dividers, they would be okay with it. So last year when the event was canceled, people would have, been happy with having an event with dividers. And now this year people are unhappy about it. And I get it. I wonder if it's just more, to protect their characters. There's obviously going to be a lot of people in these houses at once. They haven't said whether they're going to stagger parties going through the house, But in typical years, there are a lot of people. It's like person to person going through there. So, adding that, and guests are not required to wear masks indoors. It is encouraged, and that's all the signage everywhere. And it doesn't say anything other than guests are encouraged to wear them indoors. So knowing that, if they're not specifically asking guests to do it, I don't see as many guests wearing the masks indoors. So if it's an extra safety thing for the team members, I understand it. But I also understand how it does kind of take away from the actual scares.
No, you're right. I feel like I've become a little bit entitled. Like, I was saying on this very show a year ago, like, just, or more than a year ago, just whatever it takes to get in. If I have to wear a dress and carry like 12 flags in my hand, whatever it takes to get in, I want to get in. And then, Universal opened up, and then it was like, oh, okay, well, now we have this back. Now we want everything back. And, so it is better to have the dividers than not have them at all. I think that the mask thing is a little bit confusing from park to park. I feel like there should be one message. That's probably beside the point. But the last time I went into, which was 2019, into Horror Nights, they had the Stranger Things house, and the Stranger Things house was a 3-hour wait. And when you waited in that line, there was not a lot of room between you and other people. So I guess the lines are also going to be a problem this year, yeah?
I'm hoping all those people that wanted a refund aren't going to come and the lines will be a lot shorter,
And he's sitting over here going, yeah, you go home. You get out of here. We don't care if you show up or not. Yeah, that makes sense. But I remember going through a house and some woman grabbing the back of my shirt that I have no idea who it was, and then I was kind of dragging her out of the house because she was so freaked out. So again, it makes sense to give some distance between people as that's going through. Anything else that's happening there? Again, you're going to be there the whole time, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I've been brushing up. I think I mentioned I started watching Haunting of Hill House, so I'm trying to, ease into knowing what's going on, and I'm ready. I think the scare zones will be great. So a lot of people are upset about, the dividers in the houses, but there are a lot of scare zones. So, I think that'll also add a lot to the event too. So don't forget that.
No, for sure. So we'll have you back to talk a little bit about it once you've actually been able to experience it. But thank you so much for what you do every day, going into the parks and checking it out and making sure we know all the things that are happening. Because, again, this is the big one. This is the 30th anniversary we didn't get. This is the one that everybody's been waiting for. And if you're a Horror Nights fan, oh, boy, howdy, it's going to be cool. So thank you very much, Annie, for being with us. And we're going to take one more commercial break. And you know what, y'all, when we come back, I feel like a lot of y'all have been waiting for this. It is going to be the return of the Diffendoll rant. We are going to talk about a lot of things that Jason has been holding off, pinting up. He's been ready. Like I said, we've been having him in a box. We haven't been feeding him. He's raring to go. So come back for that. And again, Annie, thank you so much. We'll see you.
Welcome to Unplanned Downtime, the YouTube channel for all your favorites, including Cosmic Read Live, discussions and imagineering attractions, Deep in the Plus, reviewing the catalog on Disney Plus, Ink and Paint, celebrating female voices in the Disney fandom, WDW News Tonight, a late-night comedy show with sketches and characters, Boxed In, opening mystery packages and viewer mail, Picky Eaters, trying to eat our way across Disney restaurants, WDWM TV RPG, a tabletop adventure set in Tokyo Disney Sea, and more of your favorites. Subscribe now at unplannedDowntime.com. Remember, it's not an accident, it's Unplanned Downtime.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes. Or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplannedDowntime.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ParksCenter. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. We've got some good stuff coming up, but I do want to say thank you guys for watching. Last week was our biggest show ever. Obviously, a lot of people were very anxious to hear thoughts about the Genie Plus, and the Lightning Lane, and boy howdy, we had some to share. So thank you guys who have watched that one, and thank you guys who stick with us. If you give us a thumbs up, that helps us out a lot. We greatly appreciate it, because we want other people to be able to find the show. One of the things that this show is an amalgam of the original ParksCenter and the original pressing issues. And on the original pressing issues, there was a gentleman named Jason Diffendahl who liked to have his little rants. And you guys seem to be huge fans of that, and so he has graciously agreed to come back and give us a few of his rants. So we're going to have a couple topics. We're going to pick them out. I'm gonna shoot them out to you, Jason, and then we're going to emphatically agree with you or else. So one thing, though, before we go in, Chief Lee, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Says, Jason, can you tell us what happened at Wawa? Was there a Wawa thing that happened?
There was.
Is that a post-show thing, or should we talk about it here?
Let's wait for the post-show. I know Chief Leaf's a Wigs member, so we'll do that in the post-show.
Awesome. Yeah, again, thanks, Chief, for the super chat. We appreciate it. So, Jason, you reached out and you said, hey, let's do some rants, and you've got a couple things to rant about. I want to start you off with one that I kind of I didn't realize was a thing until it was a problem. There is a lack of Pog juice at the Magic Kingdom, or in the most magical place on Earth. What happened, and how are you feeling about that?
So the story goes that apparently the Pog juice, that's the passion fruit orange guava juice, originally known as jungle juice at Boma, and that was one of only very few places that it started out. It kind of became very popular and made its way to a number of other restaurants, including the Wave, for breakfast. The Pog juice apparently is no longer manufactured by the Coca-Cola company, and so Disney has basically thrown up their hands and said, well, we can't get Pog juice from our beverage distributor, so we're just going to discontinue it. Now, the largest entertainment company in the world can only buy beverages from one company. I don't understand that. They can't figure out how to get Pog juice from anywhere else. Meanwhile, I can go to Costco and buy Pog juice by the gallon. There you go. You've got a number of different companies that sell Pog juice by the gallon. Langer's is another one. That's the one that I bought at Costco. They don't have it all the time, but they do have it. So the largest entertainment company in the world can't figure out where to get Pog juice from, so they just throw up their hands and say, no more Pog juice. Meanwhile, the same week, the breakfast buffet at Boma returns, which is where Pog juice originated. Now, mind you, I was talking to a server at the Wave just earlier this week. And she told me that not only do they not have Pog juice, but originally at Boma, they would make the Pog juice themselves. They would blend the passion fruit, orange, and guava juices together to make the Pog juice fresh from scratch. They didn't need to buy it from someone. And so now it's doubly problematic because, first of all, Disney can't buy Pog juice from their beverage distributor. And they also apparently can't buy the components of Pog juice to go ahead and make it themselves because for whatever reason they choose not to, probably because money, of course. So Pog juice has been a favorite of mine for a long, long time. Ever since I, first had it at Boma at breakfast. Pog juice used to be one of the reasons to go to Boma for breakfast, other than the goat cheese scrambled eggs, of course, as well. But, and I was so happy when you could start getting it at the Wave, because that was like my second breakfast favorite spot. And now it's gone from all over property, and Disney is essentially giving up. They're not even trying to come up with an alternative, another way to get Pog Juice, make it themselves. They're just giving up. This is so... I don't want to say embarrassing, because that doesn't even matter anymore at this point. It's just so frustrating that the company doesn't really give a damn. And guests are getting pissed off.
Yeah, you can't say those two words because this is a kid's show. No, I'm just kidding. You can say them. So when I agree with you that Jungle Juice was where I first learned about it, and it was at the Tusker House, and they would serve it to you when you sat down as part of the buffet. They just put Jungle Juice in front of you. We would shove all 4 glasses to my son because he was addicted to it. Not because we didn't like it, but because he was addicted to it, and he would start drinking it. And then they had it in the club level at Animal Kingdom. I've never done breakfast at Boma, so I have missed it there, but I do know that they do it or have done in other places. Here's what I don't understand, though, is that they do lots of different beverage vendors. They have Joffrey's, you have Starbucks, you have Coca-Cola. There's going to be a ton of things that are available in coolers around it at the resorts that are not specifically Coca-Cola, because I will agree with you on that one. That one seems like a huge cop-out. So, Mila, thoughts? Pog Juice fan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say the last dining experience I had at Disney, the last time I was there before Disney would go on to close just a couple months later, was at Boma for breakfast on checkout day. And I'll never forget the waitress coming by and saying, "Oh, do you want some Pog Juice?" And it was my first time trying it. I was there with my sister. We did really enjoy it. And so it's just surprising that something that so many guests know about is so well known that they're just kind of so quick to abandon it. I agree. That doesn't really seem to make that much sense.
Yeah, Mike?
I always enjoy a good glass of Pog Juice, but I'm with Jason. They probably made a couple calls to their distributors on the books and said, "Do you have this?" "Nope." "Okay, good enough. We're not going to go out and pursue another distributor or contract," or maybe they're probably getting a great deal through Coca-Cola, and they can't match that, so they just they throw it by the wayside and another checkbox into things that have gone away.
Yeah, it seems like an ever-growing list all the time here. So
let me go on a tangent about beverages for a moment, because here's another thing that is incredibly frustrating to me. Skipper Canteen at the Magic Kingdom used to have Fanta Melon Frosty. And those of you who remember Club Cool would remember that Fanta Melon Frosty was available at Club Cool. It was my favorite at Club Cool. So when Skipper Canteen opened, they got the Fanta Melon Frosty. And then the Coke store at Disney Springs also had it at the rooftop bar. And then at some point, well, actually, I know exactly what point it was. The point at which Club Cool closed at Epcot, Coke stopped shipping Fanta Melon Frosty to Disney. And so not only could you not get it at Club Cool, you couldn't get it at Skipper Canteen, and you couldn't get it at the Coke rooftop bar. Here's a product that's still manufactured by Coke, and Disney, again, just decided, let it go, we don't need it. They could get Coke to ship it to them if they wanted to, right? Like, Disney is one of Coke's biggest customers. Coke should be bending over backwards to do anything that Disney asks them to do, and apparently Disney's just too lazy and can't be bothered to even ask. So again, one of my favorite stories about Fanta Melon Frosty is we were at Skipper Canteen. I was with Tom and his parents, so this was quite amusing. And Fanta Melon Frosty was obviously my favorite beverage, so I ordered that, and the server brought one. And I was thirsty because it was hot that day, so I drank it relatively quickly. And the server came back and brought me another one. And then I drank that one relatively quickly. And then the server came back and brought 4. And it was the funniest thing. that the server just gave me 4 of these because he was tired of coming back repeatedly with refills. So that was one of the magical things that happens. That's the kind of thing, honestly, you'd expect at Whispering Canyon, but it happened at Skipper Canteen, which I think in some ways is maybe along the lines of what Whispering Canyon used to be. But anyway. So there's another beverage rant.
Well, you know what? You just can't get enough because, beverages, that's an important part because you got to stay hydrated. All right. So then here's another thing that you brought up that you would like to talk about. About to set you off, I think. Disney Springs garages. Parking garages.
So I talked about this one of the last episodes of ParksCenter. Pressing Issues. One of the last episodes of Pressing Issues we had, I went off about Disney Springs parking garages and how terribly they were designed. And we touched on this a bit earlier when I was talking about how they have basically blocked off half of the second level of each garage to be able to put security scanners in, and it totally disrupts the entrance and exit and flow of people. And they make you walk up and down. They used to make you walk up and down these zigzags like 7 times at once. I remember they've gotten better with that. But that's not even the poor design. That was a design. That was a design error because they left out any possible permutation for a security type of setup in the garages. You would have thought with these garages just, not that old, that they would have maybe thought at some point they would need some sort of security check to get into Springs, and they could have designed that into the garage from the get-go. But no, so now there's all these temporary metal barricades all over the second floor. That's not even the problem I want to talk about. The problem I want to talk about is a much more egregious design error. And Rob, I sent you a couple pictures. If you have them, you could throw one up. So this picture that we're looking at here, this is the Lime Garage, obviously. I've never seen a parking garage that required a traffic controller inside the garage to direct traffic. Right? You park in parking garages at the airport. You park in parking garages even at Disneyland. You park in parking garages at malls. There's hundreds of parking garages around the country and around the world. And the way they generally work is that you enter the parking garage and immediately go to a ramp that takes you to one of the upper levels. Because obviously the ground level is going to fill up and you're going to want to go to one of the upper levels. Because the ground level in this case is only 20% of the space of the parking garage. So, normally, in every other instance I've ever encountered in my entire life, you enter a parking garage and have immediate access to a ramp to go to an upper level. That makes sense to me. It makes sense to the person, anybody who's ever designed a parking garage anywhere else in the world. Not at Disney Springs. At Disney Springs, let's put that picture back up, Rob, the second one, because I'm going to describe how, for those of you who haven't had the privilege of driving through the Lime parking garage, because you know that the orange is the better one. The Lime parking garage. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's fine.
I didn't mean to.
It's fine. It's fine.
I didn't mean to throw that in there, but it's true. But anyway, so the Lime parking garage. So where I'm taking this picture from my car, I came down the ramp from the 3rd floor, and I'm trying to exit the garage. And here's another thing: when you want to exit the garage, every other parking garage I've seen, you come down the ramp, and the exit is right there. Makes sense? You're coming down the ramp. You obviously want to leave the garage. You should be able to just get out. This one, you come down the ramp. So the ramp that you can see on the right side of this picture is actually the up ramp. The down ramp is sort of to my right and a little behind me. So I came down the down ramp and essentially made a U-turn 180 degrees to get to the exit. The exit of the Lime garage is straight ahead. So when I come down the ramp to exit the garage, I have to then drive back the entire length of the garage to get to the exit. Now, that's would be maybe a design mistake on its own. But what compounds the problem is that the entrance to the Lime garage puts you into the first level of the garage, nowhere near the entrance to the ramp to the upper levels. And so the reason that parking traffic controller is where he is because that aisle is the aisle that all of the cars entering the Lime garage have to come in. They come in from the far left corner in this picture. They come up that aisle and then have to go straight over to the right to go up the ramp to the upper levels. And so that means that every single car that enters this garage has to cross traffic with every single car that exits this garage. How that made any sense to anyone, I have no idea who designed this, but if you're trying to expedite traffic and you have a parking garage with 5 levels, how on earth you design it so that every car entering has to cross paths with every car leaving is just mind-blowing to me. I don't understand it. Now, I will say, because I'm not looking at the chat, but I will. There may be 1 or 2 people in the chat that will pick up on this. The Lime garage, as the Orange garage, has actually 2 entrances. And if you take the second entrance of the Lime garage, you avoid most of that problem. And you can get on a ramp that goes up right away. The problem is that Disney doesn't tell anybody that there's a second entrance to the Lime garage. And so everybody goes in the first entrance because you're driving west on Buena Vista Drive, you see a sign that says Lime garage, and you turn to go in. That's the wrong entrance. That's the entrance that should be closed on a regular basis and make people go in the second entrance, which puts you right on the ramp to go up. But no, that entrance is open, and it puts you into the middle of the first floor, and you have to dodge traffic to get to the ramp up. So not only did they design this about as poorly as they possibly could, but there's a way to mitigate these problems, and they don't bother to use it. They leave that first entrance open, and that's where 95% of the cars go in the first entrance, and then they have to cross traffic. So to me, it's mind-blowing how you can design something that is so poorly fit for purpose. I don't know how they could have done a worse job of design if they tried.
Okay. That's fair. But let me just tell you, I still prefer a lot of things about the Lime garage. I hate to go, I know that that's the wrong theory according to upper management, but I honestly like the position of Lime garage. It's a smaller garage. It's never been that problem for me. I've had problems in Orange garage. I think looking back, though, at one of the things you said at the top, taking the second level out of play for security is strange to me, and here's why. There's never been security at Disney Springs or Disney Marketplace back to the day, so I don't know why they felt it was necessary now. I know why it's important at City Walk, because that's your way in to the rest of the parks, and they're checking you out before you get into the rest of the parks. That's a great way to do it. They installed those touchless ones as a test while they were already slowing people down for temperature checks. And so then they added these security features. I don't know of any other mall, and maybe I'm wrong on this, that does like this level of security.
I think, again, this is just to make people feel better. Because if it's easy to get an animatronic out of Epcot, it's easy to get a weapon in. It's 10 times easier to get something into Springs. And so anybody that wants to do something at Springs is going to be able to do it. They're going to find a way to do it. It's really not that hard. So again, this is a thing that's just for show. It doesn't actually serve any purpose. Selfie sticks are allowed in Disney Springs. So what on earth they're looking for, I don't even know.
Yeah. I agree. It seems crazy. Kamila, you wanna say something?
Well, so I actually think this is a really fascinating conversation for a couple of reasons. One is there's really interesting technology around garages. And I know this because I used to have a client that implemented garage technology. So like if you go to a lot of the big casinos in Las Vegas, you'll see those setups where every parking spot has a light and it's either green or red, red for occupied, green for not. And it's a game changer. And then there's also like at the end of each row, there's these signs that'll say if there's any spots available on this row, and if so, how many. And it's been a game changer for trying to help find parking spots. So why you would have a person doing that, which is, somewhat dangerous because you've got, people who are unprotected or, next to cars, why not implement some type of technology like that? But also Disney garages have been somewhat controversial in terms of like, thinking about the city of Anaheim, which built the Mickey and Friends garage, and the ongoing battle about the fact that the city of Anaheim paid for it, but Disney is kind of profiting off of the $25 you pay to park there. So there actually is a lot of drama for Disney around parking garages, and I thought it was a really fascinating conversation. I've never had the privilege to park in either the Lime or the other garage because I've always just taken the buses over to Disney Springs or walked because I'm at Saratoga. But really interesting.
Did you say the privilege? It is privilege. That's exactly what it is. You know what? Though, yeah. So, Mike?
So, funny anecdote about those sensors, Camilo. They do have them in the parking garages at Springs. And actually, they installed them. They installed them when they built the garages, but they didn't work. And at some point, a year or so after they opened the garages, they had to rip them all out and replace them with ones that actually worked. But in all honesty, unless you're going like at Christmas season or on a Saturday night, finding a spot in the garage is not the problem. Yeah. But getting to a level of the garage where there are spots is really the bigger problem.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, if you were ever back in the day at the marketplace was a horrendous place to get a parking spot because, you couldn't get a parking spot anywhere, and the bigger they made the place, the worse it was. So I'm somewhat thankful for the garages in general.
I think the garages are great at Springs. Yeah. I wholeheartedly think they were necessary.
But there's a problem.
And they certainly serve a purpose. They're just
they were the longest construction project though I've ever seen for parking garages. They took forever. In the Lime garage, I mean, you can I would say that extra entrance like you were facing that looks like to me it was built for like morning traffic. Okay, everybody's coming in the morning, open 2 entrances, let them flow in, and then as the day goes on, like you said, Jason, close that one because now you've got the outflow of traffic. I've been stuck in that spot before coming in that entrance, and I've never come back that way again. It's a bad design to have open all the time, but I could see having it open in the morning to get traffic in.
Yeah.
Although there's no traffic going into Disney Springs at 10 o'clock in the morning for the most part, unless there's like a merchandise release, right? That's really the only instance where that's an issue. But, you're right. That entrance should not be open.
There should Disney Springs hours is definitely got to be another topic at some point because again, it's obnoxious that you have to pack up and roll up the sidewalks at 10 o'clock at night. But that's again.
That's because of COVID.
Yes.
COVID actually is much more contagious after 10 o'clock. So
right. No. I've heard that.
Mosquitoes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that
for sure.
So we've got a little bit of time left. Jason, you've got 3 more rants here. What are you feeling? You feeling Genie, parking trams, or annual pass?
Actually, I want to skip all of those. I'm still mad about annual passes. The parking lot trams are the only thing I'm going to say about parking lot trams is I am actually very surprised that no one has gone to the hospital from heat stroke during July and August, having to walk from the furthest reaches of the parking lot to the Magic Kingdom. I thought for sure that was going to happen. Somebody was going to pass out somewhere along the way because of that long trek. I really thought that was going to happen. I'm obviously glad it didn't happen. But that would have looked really bad for Disney had that happened, because there's again no excuse why the parking lot trams are not being used. But I'm going to skip that one. The one I want to go to, I want to tell a story about what happened to me last week. I was staying at the Boardwalk, DVC, and I got to so I did the online check-in, and the room was ready, and I didn't get back to the room. It was about 10 o'clock at night till I first got to my room. My room was the third furthest room from the front desk. Anyone who stayed at the Boardwalk, especially the DVC side, knows that they are the longest hallways in the world. Anywhere that you can walk for what seems like a mile to get from the front desk to the rooms at the end of the hallway. My room was the third furthest room. It was all the way down near Jelly Rolls. And of course, without magic bands anymore, you are supposed to use the app and the magic. They don't call it a magic key. That would be something smart to call that the magic key, but it's not.
Magic
because
Mobile.
Honestly, it's not really magical. It's not that magical, and it doesn't function as a key. And that's where I'm going with it. So I get all the way down to my room, and I go to click the button to open the room key, and the app says it's activating, and it's activating, and it's activating, and about a minute later, it's still activating. So I force quit the app, which is the normal way to fix these things, and I try again, and it doesn't work. And then I force quit and try again, and eventually it says, "We encountered an error. Please try again." So then I try again, and then it says, "We've encountered an error activating. Click here to call guest services." So obviously one option is to trudge all the way back to the front desk and have them give you a key card. But I had a bunch of luggage, and I didn't really feel like trudging all the way back, because wheeled luggage is great, but not on carpets. So I called guest services, and I was on hold for about a minute and a half, listening to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway soundtrack, ridiculously enough. So that didn't make me happy. But the person on the other end said, "Okay, I'll send somebody over." So I'm standing there waiting for a cast member, and of course this is like a 5 to 10 minute wait, because it just takes that long to get to the room. So the cast member from the front desk finally gets there. She lets me into the room, thankfully. She can't fix my phone. It won't activate. There's no way to fix it. Like, I tried restarting the phone and everything. If it don't work, it don't work. And so she's like, "Do you have a magic band?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure I do." Of course, the magic bands don't work to open the room. Magic bands that are already on your account actually have never worked to open your hotel room until you use a magic band that was issued for that resort stay to open it first. Then all the rest of your magic bands will work. But so you can have old magic bands, and they're never going to open your room unless you use either a magic band that the resort gave you, which they don't give you anymore, or your phone. So she can't fix my phone. She says, "Do you have a magic band?" I said, "Sure, I've got 2 of them." And of course they don't work. And she's like, "Well, let me take them, and I will re-encode them so they work, and bring them back." And if I would have thought, I would have been like, "No, I don't really need it, because I was just sleeping, and then I was going to leave in the morning." But I didn't think that far into it, because of course it's 10:30 at night and I'm tired. It's way past my bedtime at that point. So I give her my 2 magic bands. She trudges all the way back to the front desk. She re-encodes the magic bands so that they will open my room. And then she trudges all the way back to my room with the magic bands. So, of course, 20 minutes later, there's a knock at my door, and she has the magic bands, and we test them, and, of course, now they work. And then she has to trudge all the way back to the front desk. So I really don't think that was a good use of her time. And how often this happens to me, if it happens that often to everyone else, then... there are a lot of Disney cast members just walking up and down hallways because this mobile phone key thing just doesn't work. And, you know, Hilton uses this. A lot of hotel chains use this now. None of them have the problems that Disney does. It's the same technology, but it just works everywhere except at Disney, and they can't get their act together. You know, the error messages you get on the app, oh, it didn't work. That's not helpful. You know, like that's great. So that's the first app story. Go ahead, Mike. I know you want to jump in here about the
I was going to say, you know, I spend 60, 70, 75 nights in a hotel rooms for work, and I probably have 1 or 2 issues a year with my key. But if I go to Disney World, I will have 1 or 2 issues every stay. So I'm like you. I don't understand how I can go to all these different hotels all over, you know, and have no issues getting my room, and then I go to the place that's been doing it that should be encapsulated and have their own little system, and it's just a nightmare. So,
well, I mean, you don't pay too much for the room, so what do you? Oh, wait a minute.
Exactly, I pay a lot less for the room than it works.
I mean, Jason, I do this all the time, and it's like, should I put it here? Should I put it down here on the lock? What if I do this? And you know, should
it don't matter. Yeah.
But you're right, because they're trying to get people away from magic bands. It seems like, because they're not free anymore, and they're selling less of them, and they're driving everybody to mobile magic and all the things in the app. So you said you had part 2 to the app.
So part 2 of the app. So I've been trying to make. Well, I'm heading back to Disney at the end of this week for Labor Day weekend. So I'm trying to make dining reservations. And does that mean I have to stop talking?
No, go ahead.
Okay, good.
That means your
so
Star Tours flight is ready.
Oh, good. I'm ready to fly out of here.
Yep.
I'm trying to make dining reservations. And, of course, just like with the key, when it doesn't work, it just says, oh, it doesn't work. Sorry. I'm trying to make dining reservations. And every time I click on a reservation and then click through the screens, it says, we're having troubles right now. Try again later. And then I go back to try again, and the time that I selected for my dining reservation disappears, and now I have to select a different time. And then I try again, and it doesn't work. And that time disappears. And now all of my dining times that I wanted to get are gone from the app, and it's still not working. And all it says is, you know, whatever that generic error message is, you know, something's not working. Great. Thanks for telling me something's not working. So I come to the desktop, and I try to click through to make the dining reservation. And the desktop at least tells me there's an error. It says there's an error processing your payment card, because my card had expired and I hadn't updated the expiration date. The app could have told me that, right? Then I would have known. But no, it just says there's an error, and it doesn't tell you what the error is. So you have no idea why there's an error, and it tells you to try again. So then you try again. And not only do you try again and again and again, it still doesn't work because you don't know what the problem is, but then all the dining times that you selected disappear. Now, of course, when I come to the desktop, they're back because no one actually really booked them because there was an error. So I didn't want to rant about Genie because I think everyone ranted about Genie enough. But man, if this Genie thing is as glitchy as the rest of the app, and people have to pay for it, there's going to be some irritated people, let me tell you. Like, I'm trying to pay $15 to go ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and it won't let me, and it says we've encountered an error when I'm standing in front of the ride trying to get on, and I can't just get in line because you got to pay for it. That's going to lead to some problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been pretty worried about that, but you know, I had used MaxPass, and MaxPass worked pretty flawlessly.
I think the Disneyland app works pretty well.
But again, it's built. There's so much more built into the Disney World app than there is Disneyland's app. Correct. That it's just so bloated. It's so, I mean, I can't imagine how much stuff is in there that doesn't need to be in there. Like, are they just adding and adding and adding? I don't know. So. Kamila, have you run into problems like this? Disneyland versus Disney World? Clients complaining? I mean, I gotta think they do.
Yeah, well, so you definitely do hear stories about people having trouble accessing their room, especially in situations where you have a split stay, or even I had a guest recently traveling and their package was under a promotional rate, and then they found out they needed to add on a day, and so it gets really complicated quickly, and Disney really doesn't have a way to seamlessly allow guests, even in situations where they've ordered a Magic Band, it fails a little too often, certainly for what you're charging and for the experience that you're trying to provide. And then dining, it really is its own kind of nightmare for us as travel agents. We have all kinds of tricks to actually get the dining reservations that make no sense. But oftentimes, one of the best ones I can give for just based on what I'm seeing right now is if you're not seeing a dining reservation for a restaurant you want, type in that restaurant name and then go hour by hour, because sometimes it's not showing up if you just look at, generally what's available for lunch or dinner or even 3 p.m. But for whatever reason, if you pull up the restaurant on its own separately, suddenly there'll be dining reservations, and that makes no sense, and it's not a fun experience. And I can't imagine how many people think there's no reservation when there really is. So I just echo what you and Jason are saying, which is if you're going to charge people more and you're going to continue to raise prices, you've got to get these basic things right, because otherwise you deserve the blowback then.
Yeah. Mike?
The credit card thing bit me one time too, Jason. I checked in on the last day of a month, and then my card expired on the next day, and nobody could figure out why. Every travel app I have, when I open it up, it puts a warning banner across the top. Hey, your credit card on file is no longer valid. So I don't see what would be so hard about that. And the other piece about the rollout, so they're rolling out this whole new paradigm with Genie and Lightning Lane, along with the 50th anniversary, along with going into the busiest time of the year. I know there's no date of when it's coming out, but I don't know how you could have more of a recipe for disaster with Disney IT, the 50th, and the busy time of year all colliding together. I mean, it's going to be amusing to watch.
You say amusing. That doesn't sound like something I would find too amusing. But
as long as I'm not,
if you're not there, it's amusing.
I'm not there having a problem. Exactly.
Yep. And they're saying in the chat, let's give some thumbs up. Yeah, let's give some thumbs up if you can. We would love to have more people be able to find our content, and it also Jason would it would make him happy. So let's just do it. Do it for Jason. That's all we've got for tonight. I do want to go around the hub one last time here and just get some final thoughts from each of you. I know we're running a little bit late, so just 20 seconds, Jason. Final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, we started late, so that's okay. We can run late.
True.
The last rant that I didn't actually get to, and I'll touch on this real quick, is that it's actually pretty embarrassing that the CEO of the company, who came from the consumer products division, is now basically screwing over all of the people in his former division by closing all of the Disney stores. That, to me, is absurd. Disney already tried once to get rid of Disney stores by selling them to Hoop Retail, operators of the Children's Place. That turned out to be such a disaster that they bought them back. Now they're just closing all the stores and expecting you to shop online. Well, let me tell you, when you go to Shop Disney and you experience technical problems like we do on the app, people are going to stop buying stuff on Shop Disney too. So I think this is an enormous mistake. And it's particularly egregious that the guy who used to run consumer products is now the CEO and is doing this to that division. So there's my mini rant for the end.
Okay. Don't disagree with you, Mike.
I know there's a lot of negative stuff, but I am holding out hope that the Genie Plus Lightning thing works out well, because there's a balancing point there that I consider nowadays with money versus stress versus time. And, if it works out well, there's going to be a nice way there for you to balance those things out and decide, what, it's okay for me to pay a little extra because it makes things easier for me, knock on wood. So I want to be completely negative all night. So
too late. And Kamila.
Yeah, I am very interested in what is happening in the cruise area for Disney. They're not the only ones being impacted, but with countries like the Bahamas coming out and having very specific guidelines on who they will allow into their country and off of cruises, it's just really interesting to see how Disney and other cruise ships companies are responding. It looks like the EU is also about to maybe not allow non-essential travel from the U.S. I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I saw where before we went on air, the Wall Street Journal was reporting that. So it just goes to show, whether we want to be done with COVID or not, all these travel and hospitality companies are continuing to have to respond to a very fluid environment. And I am just fascinated by what's happening with cruises in general. So I'm keeping a close eye on that.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you spending your Sunday nights with us on ParksCenter. If you have not yet, please go to thecarouselproducts.com. We've got some great stuff there, including a brand new shirt that is we've had for a week or so. It's called Disney in the Streets, Universal in the Sheets. Make your own story there. And a lot of other fun stuff that we've got there. Also, if you have not, please make sure to take a look at our Patreon, patreon.com/WDWNT. You can become a WIGS member. We do love our WIGS. Thank you for our WIGS members who are out there. We really appreciate you. Again, patreon.com/WDWNT. Thank you for a great show panel. Thank you, Jason Diffendahl, for coming on and sharing your thoughts. And we ran out. You've got more thoughts than we had time. That's just the way it goes. So if you are a WIGS member, though, you do get a post show. So you get some overtime with the man himself. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon. Bum, 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 bum.